So it's very simple. And the mechanism, the thing that causes you to be addicted, is actually the same thing that will cause you to be hyper focused and disciplined. It's the same energy, it's just directed in different ways. If you have a more masculine predisposition, so masculine in this case means you're focused on doing, you're goal orientated, and feminine would be you're focused on being, or you're comfortable in the moment. If you have this masculine energy, it's going to have to be expressed in one way or another. And so in your case, and in my case, it was just being expressed in addiction and obsessiveness over escaping or focusing on specific tasks like games that are irrelevant. That energy is being vented into that addiction. And this is because it doesn't have anywhere else to go. You don't have a meaningful, worthwhile goal in your life that energy can latch onto and be directed towards. So it just gets directed towards the other stuff. You can't blame yourself. You just don't have a reason for living, for waking up, for moving forward and facing your problems. You don't have a reason. And some people are way more comfortable not having a reason than others. And these would be people with more feminine energy. Other people, like myself, I realize, literally cannot function as a normal human being or a member of society while not having a goal. Like it just wasn't a option for me. I realized this in retrospect. And in part, I'm making this video to speak to my past self, to say a few points that would have cut down the process of just suffering and pain so much more. The most important thing about a goal is that it's not dependent on shoulds or expectations from your external environment. This goal has to be intrinsically derived, and you need to come to this conclusion yourself. It can't be something like, oh, I want money, status, power, fame. Those things, you can have those in subtle amounts. We're all human, we have those things. But if that's your goal, and simply it's just money, power, status, fame, whatever, recognition, then the desire or the motivation for achieving that goal will be very, very fleeting. And you won't find the resolve day in and day out to actually recommit to your goals. Because when you're feeling good, you're not really going to care too much. It's not something that transcends yourself. So that goes on to the next point. It needs to transcend you. The goal can't purely be about you. And it might be really difficult if you're in a neurotic state. And if that's the case, you can just think of what you enjoy and then start associating with the benefits it might have to other people. And that's completely okay as well. But essentially, yeah, it needs to be above you in some way, shape, or form. So when you wake up in the morning, it's actually inspirational to work towards. If your goal is something kind of mediocre, and it doesn't, like, mediocre isn't my judgment. It's all going to be based on what you think is reasonable. But if it's something that you think is kind of a lowball estimate of your abilities, you're not going to want to wake up in the morning to do this thing. And that's really important. If you have some sort of masculine energy, you need some challenge, some inspiration, something transcendent almost to aspire towards. And to figure out what this goal is. So you're probably wondering this, and most people are, okay, how do I figure out what this goal is, what this pursuit is? How can I find out what I actually want to do with my life? You said it needs to be free of shoulds and expectations, but how do I find that thing? And what you need to do is do thought experiments and reflections. So these are the things that completely transformed my ability to find meaning. Asking yourself these deeper questions and taking them very seriously. The one that really just did it for me, the one that basically, after, obviously there was a lot more reflection leading up, so it was the right environment. But I asked myself the question, what would I do if I had 100 million in the bank right now. So what would I do? What would my goal be in life? So I've partied, I've had fun, I've bought all the things that I want. You have 100 million. You can buy all the things that you want, most likely, unless you're pretty crazy. And so I did that. I bought all the things that I want in my imagination. I sat down in my bed, in my mansion. I imagined this and I really took it seriously. And this is key. And then the thought was just like, okay, I've done everything I wanted to do. I've indulged in every desire I wanted. What's next? What am I doing now? I have all this money. I have all this time. I'm still young. What do I do with my life? And then that's when the answer just popped into my head. And it became so clear. It was just like, oh, I would want to build a school. Like this was my mission and this was my goal. And it just popped into my mind. I was just like, of course I would want to do that. And when I saw it, or when it came to me after that thought experiment, it was just like, oh yeah, like this is what I'm doing for the rest of my life. Like, of course, like why else would I do anything else? Like everything else would be settling for less than what I think I'm capable of. And that's the key element. Your goal needs to be on the edge, or like slightly past the edge of what you think you're capable of. So it pushes you forward. And this is so important to understand, because most people don't understand the value of a goal. They don't understand how important it is if you have more of a masculine disposition. This becomes your North Star. This becomes your reason for waking up, your reason for taking care of your health. And obviously, self-love grows out of choosing that goal. But it's very much a way that you can kind of anchor yourself and all these good habits in place, because or else you don't really know why you're doing anything. And when you have a North Star or a goal, the question you just have to ask is this helping me get closer to my goal? Is this helping me develop mastery towards the skills I need to learn? Or is this just getting in my way? And it becomes less of a laborious like decision-making process. You just know, like, is this helping me or is this not helping me? And then you just cut out the things that aren't helping you. And if your goal is coming from a place of your true values and truth and just higher consciousness, it's going to make it so, and this is what happened in my life, the goal just basically transfigures your whole life in a way where it creates, like, the goal itself creates you as this kind of like pure, capable, energetic vessel to achieve the goal. And you just start being healthier because that's the only way forward. And you understand this fundamentally when you've put that North Star in your mind and you know where you're going. It's going to be a long process. Like, it's going to be a process of figuring out, contemplating. And what I would have told myself if I could go back, I spent 3 months thinking about what I wanted to do and contemplating up until I asked that question. So there was a lot of like groundwork for it to click in my mind. What I would have said would be, don't feel guilty for thinking about what you want to do long term. So at that time, I had all these different things that seemed immediate, that seemed urgent, like, oh, I need to focus on this, I need to focus on that. I shouldn't be spending so much time thinking about this. If I could go back, I would tell myself, don't feel a shred of guilt. Don't think about anything but this. Because looking back at it now, I have no idea what those immediate things were or what was so urgent about my life. And the only thing I remember is what I discovered about what I wanted to do. So don't feel guilty. It's going to take a while. You're going to have to think about it a lot. But once you figure it out, it's going to mean so much more than just any of those menial tasks in your life right now. And now you're probably thinking, okay, but what about money? What about all of this stuff? And this is a shift that happened as well in my mind when I understood the role of mastery and the relationship to money. So, in the early stages of your goal, there's no point thinking about money or just planning or just like really focusing on, oh, I want these material things. It's all about focusing on mastery. What are the skills you want to master, and how will you go about mastering those skills? And then everything else, all of your material desires, are a consequence of mastery. Once you really ingrain this mindset, you're not going to be thinking short term, and you're not going to be tempted by just changing course every few seconds or every few months or weeks or whatever it may be. Mastery leads to financial abundance and everything that you can desire that comes with it. All of those materialistic base needs that you have at your core, those things will be taken care of once you dedicate yourself to mastery. And again, if you're watching this video, you probably have a masculine disposition. So that means that mastery will be the most satisfying, fulfilling thing that you can do as someone who's masculine. It feels so nice being able to develop your skills and see the results of those skills. Like that just nourishes your soul in a way where nothing really does. And if a quick way to like kind of tell if you have that disposition or you're actually orientated in that way is to ask yourself, would you rather go on a holiday for a week and just go to a different country, relax, enjoy a vacation? Or would you rather spend that time working on something meaningful? And that, if you can answer that question, or the more intuitive it comes, you can kind of tell which way you're orientated. And if you're at this point of the video, I'm going to plug something that really helped me come to this conclusion. And it's not a paid promotion or anything. It's just genuinely, I believe, the most transformative thing that I've ever come across in my life. Like for the first 24 years, this was by far the most impactful thing that I did or I purchased or I went through. And that was the Life Purpose course by Leo from actualize.org. This is just everything you need. It is a silver bullet. You don't need anything else. You need to obviously do the work that's set out for you in this course, but it covered everything. And he really just reverse engineered what it means or what the process of finding your life purpose is. You can do this work by yourself. Like, don't get me wrong. If you can't afford the course or you just don't want to buy a random course by a bold man, that it's all good. That's okay. You can do the work yourself. It just takes a lot of contemplation and a lot of reflection. And if you're going to do it yourself, you already know if you're the type of person that will do it yourself and that you have the tools necessary. But if you're feeling a bit more lost, I would highly suggest you check it out. And again, I'm not affiliated in any way. It was just genuinely one of the best purchases that I've ever made in my life. So that's about it from this video. Hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully you gained the insight that I was looking to give. And yeah, if you did enjoy, feel free to like and subscribe. There'll be more to come. And for now, peace and love.